Growing up, I was always obsessed with something. And that would change every 5 years, you know. When growing up, it was video games, and then BMX bikes and skateboards, and then women, and then I got stuck on drinking when I was in my early 20s, and it had a hold of me for like a decade. And when I got sober, I didn't know who I was or what I even liked anymore. My whole life was consumed by drugs and alcohol. I needed something to do in my sobriety. So I bought a fishing pole, and then fast forward 5 years, I'm completely obsessed with fishing. He's just giving this thing a little haircut just so it looks a little bit smaller in the water. Doesn't need to look so big. Thing's perfect. And drag that sucker around a couple minutes. See what happens. I bought this house 3 years ago, and when I was actually looking to buy a house, what I was looking to buy was a 2-car garage for all my toys, and then I found one, and the house just happened to come with it. So, full of kayaks, full of fishing rods, life vests, paddles, just, it's kind of my happy place. I have a hard time sitting on the couch a lot of the time, so when I was fishing at lakes, instead of just walking around lakes, I was like, at that point I didn't really have that much money, and I was just like, I just want to get off the bank. And so I was just like, I'm gonna buy a kayak. And then once I kind of got into it, I was just like, this is a blast. It's like, I can get into 6 inches of water. I can sneak around trees where big boats can't get. It was one of those things where it's like, oh, I have like a backpack and 2 rods, and I can go out fishing all day and have a great time. I've kind of grown with it, so now I can't leave it. Like, now it's just part of me. Being a bass fisherman in the mountains is a constant struggle because there's such elevation changes in different lakes that you'll go to one lake and the fish are doing one thing. You'll go 30 minutes down the mountain and the bass are in a totally different stage. So every time you go to a different lake, any time of the year, the bass are generally doing different things. So to pattern a fish is way harder to do depending on where you are, unless you're going to the same lake over and over and over again. So we're down here at our local mud puddle today. This is one of my favorite lakes to fish down off the mountain in South Carolina. I like it because it's really shallow. It's kind of like a silty lake, so it gets muddy when it rains, and that's like kind of my favorite style of fishing. It's just kind of like beating the bank. There's a lot of laydowns, stuff like that, and it's a smaller lake too, so there's not a lot of boat pressure on it, which is awesome. No, dude, that's a fish. That's a good fish, dude. There's a log down there. I always cast at it, and I got hung up on it, and the fish grabbed one of the other baits and pulled my lure off the log. Caught the fish. So I got my lure back, and this little guy's probably a few pounds. You know, Florida is it's a renowned place to go bass fishing, and it's completely different from the rest of the country. Like the weather patterns, even like the species of black bass that are down there in Florida are completely different. So I know a lot about this, but I don't know anything about that. It's like a special place. And I'm really excited to go down there and, throw a frog with 65-pound braid. Never done that before. Should be really fun. Getting down to Florida was really surreal because, you can watch it on YouTube videos as many times as you want, but when you get down there and you see like the Spanish moss hanging off the trees and you feel the humidity of it, and it's the same, but it's completely different at the same time. It's still fishing, it's still for the same fish, but it is a totally different world down there. Oh man, it's been a nice couple days. It's nice that it's summertime all of a sudden. Gotta check the temperature. Last night it was 39 degrees and snowing, like 20 minutes south of us down there. So, and last night it was 65 degrees here. I would like to catch a frogfish while I'm down here in Florida. So, I'll definitely throw that around a little bit in the morning. But I don't know what to expect. We made it, so I guess we'll just have to see when we get out there. I have no idea. That first day in Florida was not what I expected when I think about fishing in Florida. It was clear water, there was no grass, it was deep. I felt like I was in my element, which is the opposite of what I thought I was going to run into on my first day in Florida. We ended up catching some fish. I didn't catch them the way that I thought I was going to, but it turned out to be a humbling first day. This is a really cool place. I've never been down fishing in this area of the country before, and it's pretty much everything I expected it to be. It's just super wild. There's all different kinds of wildlife that I've never seen before, which is kind of exciting too, because I spend all my time outside. So obviously, seeing beavers and otters and stuff swim by is cool, but now down here we got alligators, crazy. The second morning was really foggy. I almost couldn't see the people that I was fishing next to. The water was tannic, like an iced tea color, and it was foggy in the morning, but there was like tules everywhere, like big shoots of grass sticking up all over the place. It was exactly what I wanted when we planned this trip in the beginning. He ate the whole thing. Danny was right, these fish are pretty. On the third day, we launched in the same lake that we did on the second day because we had such a good time. But on that morning, the weather was completely different. We launched in the pouring rain, and it was really good. As soon as we put in, we started catching fish, and then as the rain stopped, the fish stopped biting. A nice little one to start the morning on a Texas rig. Looks like they're gonna eat everything today though. Pretty little fish. Heck yeah! And that place is all just canals. It's like a maze in there. So we actually split up and reconvened later on in the day. We just had such a good time. The second day, we went back the third day. After the storm blew through, fish started biting again on completely different techniques, just because that's what bass fishing is. We took a break because there were some storms rolling in, so we were like, okay, well, let's get off the water for a second. And then we started fishing at this lake with apartments lined up one side of it. That last lake was definitely like a scramble to fish one more time before we had to leave Florida. It's a good looking Florida bass right there. It's kind of weird to be in like a suburban neighborhood. It looks like there's a big apartment complex right here, and we're just right here catching bass 100 yards away from it. crazy, man. I guess that's Florida for you.
Overall, the trip was really exciting. I got to see Florida fishing for what it is in all of its different varieties, and I got to do it in a short amount of time, which was great. I did not get that big fish that I wanted, but I guess that just means that I'm just gonna have to go down there again one day.
All right, come on. Good girl. Good. It's just crazy to think that my life was so unmanageable 5-6 years ago, and that, you know, now it's just so much easier. It's just, it's crazy how much you can benefit from having a clear mind. I know a lot of people that are in recovery and focus on recovery-based things, and everybody that's in it has that one passion that they find to replace what we thought we always needed with alcohol. So some people go to the gym, you know, some people start doing art. Everybody has an obsession. Addicts are addicts. They'll always be addicted to something. I was lucky enough to find the water, and fishing for me was my obsession, and that's how I stayed clean for all those years.